Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Media Boat Podcast, your weekly episodes where we talk about movies, TV, music, and video games. Not necessarily in that order, but only movies, TV, music, and video games. My name is Mike. His name is Matt.
My name is Matt. His name is Mike. That's a lie. Sometimes we forget or do it on purpose, or sometimes other stuff is going on. There's one big fish in the fish in the room, element in the room that we're not going to talk about, but you know. There's been development since last week. Not all great. But we're gonna soldier on. We're
No,
gonna
but
keep
the
doing the
elephant
show.
is an apt metaphor. Yes.
Yeah, not wrong. But yeah, we're just gonna keep soldiering on. We're gonna do the show, as we always do. I mean, we did this show from 2016 to 2020 as well, didn't we? So nothing can stop the media vote train.
No, like you said, it is 2016 again. And we're going to start this podcast with the music section. Start the music section with the Billboard. Start the Billboard with the Hot 100. And the hottest song in the land is Traitor by Olivia Rodrigo.
No, sorry, we're
No,
not. No, we're not actually in 2016. We are still in 2024, November. I should actually 2024, and this is episode 461.
yes. And we're going to start this off with the music section. Start the
The
music section with the
actual
Billboard.
Billboard.
Start
Yes.
the Billboard with the Hot 100. And the hottest song in the land is a bar song, Tipsy by Shabuzi. At two, Die with a Smile by Bruno Mars and Lady Gaga. At three, Birds of a Feather by Billie Eilish. Coming in at four, Espresso by Sabrina Carpenter. And rounding out your top five, Lose Control by Teddy Swims.
And you know what that means.
Uh,
We did
we
it.
are, yes, we're, well, we didn't have to bring in the backup of Mariah Carey to finally let it happen.
No, it didn't take that long. We are Wallen free this week, which is
Uh,
which is a miracle.
in both as we get to the albums chart, your Billboard 200 with Chromacopia by Tyler, comma, the creator.
Mhm.
Coming at two, Short and Sweet by Sabrina Carpenter. At three, Eternal Wake 2 by Lil Uzi Vert. Coming in at four, Songs of a Lost World by The Cure. Yes, that Cure.
Yeah.
And running at your top five, The Secret of Us by Gracie, JJ's daughter, Abrams.
Yes, I believe Gracie Abrams' record is getting a tour bump. Um, Other than that, yeah, interesting to see kind of a shakeup this week on the Billboard 200. Not so much the Hot 100, except for Lose Control coming in there. Teddy Swims, I believe, entering the top five for the first time. But yeah, otherwise the same old, same old. But
Yeah,
what
but like you said,
is new?
wallenless chart.
Yes, a
Uh,
Wallenless chart.
yes, zero walls. But if you like any of those albums, we have new releases, starting with Petricker by 070 Shake. Both of these, all three of those words, just whoosh. What are those? I don't know.
Don't know.
We also have Brighter Days by Dwight Yoakam. There's Bouquet by Gwen Stefani. Yes,
Yeah.
that Gwen Stefani.
Yep.
Beethoven Blues by John Batiste. Yes, Grammy Award winning John Batiste. Gratitude by Mary J. Blige. Negative Spaces by Poppy. Sean by Sean Mendes.
Yep.
Todos Nacen Gritando by St. Vincent. Uh, that's everything, nothing for free.
Thank you. Thank you for the translation.
By St. Vincent. But we got some callbacks to do here. First up, Reboot, rebooted. This is Reboot 2, the sequel to Reboot by Brooks and Dunn, where a bunch of current country artists sing past Brooks and Dunn songs. Although they already did the hits last time, so what are they going to do this time?
The almost hits.
The more hits, because Brooks and Dunn have that many hits.
I guess so.
Uh, and lastly, it's been 7 years, but they finally have a new album out. Linkin Park with From Zero comes out on Friday.
Yeah, it's finally here. We'll be able to hear an entire album's worth of songs from the newly rebuilt Linkin Park with new singer. So yeah, only a matter of time until we hear the rest of this album, what this whole thing sounds like.
You realize that it has been exactly 2 months since we saw them in concert,
Oh, I believe it. It feels like it. A long
and
couple
yet now
months.
the album comes out.
Yeah, well, so we'll talk about it next week and see how it goes.
Yeah, so much for calling that a world tour when they only did one song off the album. Guess I gotta do
Yeah.
another world tour. All right, let's get into the news because this is what is going to take up a majority of our show.
Maybe. We'll see.
Grammy nominations came out last week.
Yes, they did.
And to no one's surprise, well, maybe to someone's surprise, Beyonce is one of five powerhouse women who are all nominated in all three of the Grammys' top general categories this year for record, song, and album of the year. Unfortunately, they could not all hit that fourth one, which was Best New Artist for very obvious reasons.
Yeah.
Joining her in being nominated in all three of those major prize categories are three other powerhouse women. Sorry, five other powerhouse women. Taylor Swift, no surprise. Billie Eilish, no surprise. Sabrina Carpenter, no surprise. And Chapel Roan. Hold for surprise?
Mm, if you've been
She's
paying
had a year.
attention, if you've been paying attention and doing your homework, you would know.
Yes, teacher, I shall turn in my homework eventually.
Eventually, before the Grammys, I guess.
I
Now,
guess I have to now since they're not since it's nominated for Album of the Year.
yeah.
Yeah, so as you mentioned, the very red hot Chapel Roan and Sabrina Carpenter have also had the distinction of being nominated for Best New Artist, where they will hopefully not split the vote, meaning that we have two artists this year that are up for all four general categories open to recording artists across all genres. If either Carpenter or Roan turn turned out to be red hot enough to win Best New Artist plus the trio of record, song, and album of the year, they would be the first to do so since 2020 when Billie Eilish did it.
Yeah.
So it's first in 4 years.
Yeah.
Uh, three other artists picked up nominations in two of the top three categories and accrued major nomination tallies, including Charlie XCX, Post Malone, and Kendrick Lamar, who keeps reminding us that he is not like us.
No, no, no. The song is him saying that Drake and the other members of his label are not like us being Kendrick and the rest of us.
Well, clearly, because they weren't Grammy nominated.
Anyway, yeah, not a whole lot of surprises, like you mentioned. This was pretty much how we thought this was going to go. We knew this
Mhm.
was going to be a feminine energy going into this Grammys, and sure enough, that's what we got. The majority of nominees on these major categories are women. There are some notable exceptions. I want to mention this because the story doesn't mention this, but also up for Album of the Year is Andre 3000's Flute album,
Yes.
which, hey, has an outside chance of taking this thing. It could do a John Baptiste style upset here against the Pop Girls, but I have my doubts. Doesn't mention this explicitly, but yes, Taylor Swift's Tortured Poets Society is nominated for most of these as his Fortnite single. So that's where Post Malone gets a lot of his nominations here and why he's on this list. Charlie XCX's Brat being nominated for Album of the Year is a surprise, I think. Legitimately, I think at the beginning of the year, if you had said that that was going to happen, no one would have believed you. But Brat Summer happened, and it became strong enough of a cultural force that I think it forced the Academy to pay attention to Charlie, which is not something they had done prior. It's also up for dance recording, a category which will probably win. So yeah, it's an interesting year. A little and a little like still not, I think, exciting enough to get to change anyone's mind about the Grammys. But I think that this, if Chapel Roan, Sabrina Carpenter, or Charlie XCX have good nights here, it could be exciting. It could be a new, fresh energy if it ends up being Beyonce, who I'm not saying didn't put in good work. Cowboy Carter is one of the biggest albums of the year and should be recognized.
Mhm.
Taylor's not so much. But yeah, if you see kind of the old guard, or Billie Eilish even, like the old guard here, which is funny to refer to Billie Eilish as the old guard, but that's what happens when you win that many Grammys that fast. Um, it could
Well,
be
it
a
has
less
been 4 years.
exciting night, right? But still, it could be a less exciting night if any of them take the like just juggernaut through all of it. So I don't know what we're gonna get. I honestly don't know what this is. This is a coin flip, if you ask me.
How many coins you got? Because there's a lot of flipping to do here.
Yeah,
Like I said, I think Chapel Roan and Sabrina Carpenter may split that Best New Artist vote,
could.
leading to Shabuzi coming in hot
It
for
could, that
Best New
very
Artist.
well could happen. I mean, Shabuzi is not necessarily the underdog here if you consider that his song has been number one the most, like most weeks out of any song this year.
Mhm.
He has that title right now, and it doesn't look like it's going to go away. That is the biggest
Well,
song of the year.
yeah, there are only a handful of weeks left here.
Yeah.
Wait,
It's funny
there's
to think
there is
about
less than
that.
10 weeks left in the year.
Yeah, it's just funny to consider that when it kind of snuck up on everybody. I think no one was expecting Shabuzi of all people to have a breakout year, and here we are. He started the year out, well, not started, but like halfway through the year, he had a feature on the Beyonce record, and then all of a
Mhm.
sudden he's number one for weeks and weeks and weeks. It's just funny how sometimes that happens in this business. But yeah, I'm interested to see. Also, it'd be weird to see, not like us, a very
It destroyed.
strange song to win a lot of Grammys. But if it does, hey, it's a narrative for the night, I guess, and it rubs in further in Drake's face. Drake, someone who famously hates the Grammys,
Right. Whereas The Weeknd famously
right?
hates the
Doesn't even
Grammys for a
bother,
different reason.
right? He doesn't even bother submitting, which is why you don't see him ever here. Yeah, I don't know. This is interesting. It's an interesting year, but like I said, I think it's a coin flip about whether this is like an exciting night or not. Depending on where they end up leaning. The Academy is notoriously conservative about how they vote. So if you're hoping for a chapel sweep, maybe tone down your expectations.
Especially if she continues talking to every post she sees online.
I do also want to mention that unfortunately we saw a reverse of last year when it came to the rock category.
Mhm.
It's all men again. It's back to the same old in those categories. The alternative category is a little more interesting with some women involved. St. Vincent, one of them, but otherwise, yeah, outside of pop, you are looking at a pretty male-dominated field, which is disappointing considering the year we had last year. But hey, just shout out to Kim Gordon, who never got a nomination for a Grammy back when she was a member of Sonic Youth, is nominated twice for her solo album and a single this year. So Kim Gordon at 70 could win her first Grammy. There you go. So, fun
You
fact.
know, people get better with age, or
Guess so.
people like you better with age. I don't know. Is that the right phrasing?
Depends.
Yeah.
Depends. But
Well,
yeah,
yeah,
we'll
I'm
see how
sure
this
there depends involved
goes.
with age too.
Ah,
Ha!
ha. But yeah, we'll see how this goes in February as the Grammys typically air then.
Yes, and they will, I think they are airing before the Super Bowls, which means Kendrick Lamar could be
Yes,
Grammy winner again
going in to the Super
going
Bowl.
into
Yeah.
the Super Bowl.
Probably
You can just
will be because
hype
he'll
him
probably
up.
win Best Rap Song, I would guess. But
Yes, and then he can perform best rap song.
yeah. Anyway.
Anyways, did you listen to anything?
No, I was trying to find time to listen to Chromacopia, the Tyler the Creator album that has been on the top of the charts. Uh, been able to finish it. So maybe I'll talk about it next week, but probably not. I respect it, but it's not my thing, you know?
Okay. I did listen to one album. I listened to a new album by a not new band, but new to me, State Champs, with their album
Okay.
State Champs, because it is football season and state championships are right around the corner. So I was like,
Well,
okay,
there
let
we
me
go.
put this on, not knowing what I'm getting myself into.
Right.
It's a very rock pop album. And so I was listening, I was like, okay, I kind of like this. But then I realized that my repeat song like doesn't end at the end of the album, just keeps going. And I thought, oh, like this is well, one, like this is refreshing, like hearing like a very early Blink-182 band in 2024. Very early Green Day. Like
Hmm.
all these like influence bands that like were like 20 years ago coming back. I'm like, okay, like I like this album, it's pretty good. And then it kept going and going and going. And I was like, oh, wait, no, this is definitely a different band now. This is definitely a different band. Until I realized that I had been listening to about 10 songs, not realizing it was a different band.
Wow.
So I don't know what that says about me listening to it, or just that my taste in this specific genre is just nowhere near where it is anymore. And like I'm very out of the loop because I went about like I said, like 5 or 10 different bands, not realizing that, oh, I'm no longer listening to the same band. Maybe they aren't that unique, like in this space. I mean, I haven't been paying attention anymore.
Yeah, I mean, you're not in that scene. You don't know what's going on with that area of music. But first and foremost, turn off repeat. Then that solves your problem. Like just
Yeah, but
have
then
it
it
off
just
by default.
ends. And then I'm like
Yeah.
listening to like Dead Space, like, well, not like Dead Space, but like Dead Air.
Yeah, I know. Like that's the way it should be. Just like how when you had to get up and flip the like take the vinyl off of the thing or take the CD out of the player. Like
Okay, Grandpa.
just saying, it's not the end of the world. I have it set where like if an album ends, it ends. I have to go back to iTunes and click something. Like,
Well, see, I thought I had it where it's set where after it ends, it goes right back to the top of the album.
oh,
I
okay.
guess not. I
Well,
just went to shuffle or
either
like
way, I
whatever they
think this
want to
is
give to me. Give
well,
me the
anyway,
V drip.
either way, I think this is a skill issue.
It might be a skill issue. It might be a
User
me issue.
error. I think you need to fix it.
Yes, but it's still, but just in general, state champs. It's nice hearing that kind of band again. It's that
Yeah.
kind of sound again. That kind of like early alt rock of the
Yeah.
early 2000s,
Pop punk is
where
still alive.
it's still
It's
out there.
out
Yeah,
there.
the punk scene's still out there. I liked what I heard, so that's why I kept listening to it.
There you go.
And then I thought like, okay, so maybe it's not like, oh, this is like unique and refreshing. And then it turned out to be not that unique and refreshing. That's just my first time like hearing it. So if you want to give like take your dip and toes like back into that scene that you used to be in, um, State Champs is a great way to get into that.
There
And
you
they
go.
have other albums dating back to like 2008, 2009 as well.
Well, okay. Been there for a while.
Yeah. Yeah. This is just their first self-titled album.
Yeah, it's one of those bands where I've seen their name written a lot, but I never actually went and checked them out. I knew they were a
Mhm.
pop punk thing, but that's pretty much all I knew.
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right,
All right.
then
Uh,
shall we
that's
move
on me
on?
then. Let's continue on to video games, where we start with
Yes.
new releases, including Dragon Quest III HD1 2D remake for the PC, PS5, Xbox Series X, and the Switch. The Rise of the Golden Idol for everything wide release. You got it, you can play it. And then we got some three heavy hitters coming to a console near you. First up, Farming Simulator 25 for the PC, PS5, and Xbox Series X.
Mhm.
Then Lego is back with Lego Horizon Adventures for the PC, PS5, and the Switch. This is the Lego based Horizon Zero Dawn game.
Yes.
And lastly, Game of the Year for 2024,
Hold on, hold on, hold on.
Tetris Forever. For everything, wide release. You got it, you can play it.
I have played this and I will talk about it a little later.
All right. So before we get to talking about Tetris Forever, we're going to talk about some news, video game
Yes.
news. And we're going to take two. Well, not like a second take,
Yeah.
but Take Two video game developer company has sold its indie publishing label, Private Division. It announced the move alongside its second quarter earning results on Wednesday, but it didn't disclose who the studio was sold to or for how much. Quote, we recently made the strategic decision to sell our Private Division label so we could focus our resources on growing core businesses for the long term. So, as part of that transaction, the buyer purchased substantially all of Private Division's existing and unreleased titles. Close quote. Said the Take-Two CEO. Well, okay, let me rephrase that. Said Take-Two's current CEO, Strauss Zelnick.
Yes, Strauss Zelnick, the most Bond villain named of all of the video game executives. Couple things to note here. Yeah, it's sad. Private Division had published a lot of indie and big indie titles over the last few years, including The Outer Worlds, not The Outer Wilds, but The Outer
Mhm.
Worlds, the Bethesda RPG-esque game made by Obsidian. That was published by Private Division. Yeah, it was a source of a lot of big games, and to have Take-Two just giving up on Private Division altogether and selling it off is kind of disappointing. It makes you wonder why they even bothered founding an indie label in the first place if they were just going to end up doing this. The second thing is it's interesting that they do this in the road to the biggest release of probably this generation, GTA 6, which Take-Two will publish and release next year. So it does seem like they're clearing their books for the next quarter in a way, intending on that quarter being non-stop GTA money. And they're probably right. There probably is a lot of non-stop GTA money coming down as soon as 6 releases. But it's just unfortunate to see a financial decision made like this when they really don't need to. And they're just like, I guess Strauss just doesn't want to be in the indie business anymore.
Well, either that or they saw the roadmap for a private label or
Private
for a
division.
private division and saw that there was not going to be a big enough release to warrant them continuing to have them. And if someone's going to come in and
Yeah.
purchase them, it makes sense to get money now than to spend money and put in a hole. And then all of a sudden, GTA 6, the big money behemoth that it will be, is spending some of its money to help usher along the other stuff that's kind of floundering at the time.
Sure, but again, if they didn't want to make indie games, why did they make an indie game label? Like, why bother? Like, this is the business that they got into. They should know what they got into. Second of all, they're not like broke. It's not like they don't have money to
Oh,
spend on this
it's not
stuff,
like Take-Two is like some
right?
like poor publisher
They have a
struggling.
pile of shark cards behind them at all times because of how well GTA 5's online mode is done. Like they don't need money. They're just going to get more and more and more forever. Like that is not the problem. It just seems like they just don't want to bother, is the vibe I get. It's just they're like Strauss Zelnick woke up one day and he was like, why do we still operate this? Like, that's not who we want to be. Let somebody else take it. That's what it feels like.
What is this 5% budget that we're putting money into? What is this small slice?
Yeah, it's just upsetting. It just further proof that these big publishers, and especially the people who run these big publishers, just seem so disconnected to how the video game business actually works. Like they just
Dollar
see the
signs,
giant
dollar
dollar
signs,
signs.
dollar
Yeah,
signs.
exactly. They see the money, and when they see the smaller money, they say, "Why bother with the smaller money when we can just have all big money all the time?" I do want to branch off of the story real quick and mention a headline I saw today briefly, which is they are not going to release Borderlands 4, which was recently announced. in the same like handful of month area as GTA 6. They did confirm that. GTA 6 is still slated for a release sometime in the current or not the current, the next financial court like financial year, I think they said. So that'll be sometime after March. So it could
Yep,
be as early as April, it could be as late as like toward the end of next year.
March 2026.
Right. So sometime in there, we're going to see both of those games, but they will not have overlap, apparently. They're going to keep those things separate as possible. I imagine you see GTA 6 first. They're probably going to want to get that out the door. I'm thinking in the summer or possibly as late as September.
Yes, but not for the reason you're thinking. It's to give themselves as much distance from the Borderlands movie as possible.
Yeah, yeah. They did also release a statement about that, basically saying like, well, it did wonders for our game sales. Because hey,
That is one positive spin on it. Because
yeah, put the name
Lionsgate
out
is
there.
making a big write-off about like $130 million on it.
Right. Yeah. Just forget about it. It never happened. They also said they're going to be more selective about licensing out their IP from now on.
Yep.
Anyways.
Uh, oh, we have one last little blurb here in
Yeah.
leaving
Too
in our
important to
mail.
not mention, I think.
I guess so. Switch 2, still happening, and will reportedly be backwards compatible with all your current Switch games and library.
Yes, this was confirmed by Nintendo via social media. This was not, of course, paired with any actual Switch 2 news or announcement. It was just by itself, just said, and I think this assuages a lot of people's worry that there was a possibility, considering Nintendo's past, that it would wipe the slate clean and you would not be able to play Switch games. Not the case. This lends credence to a lot of people's reports about this thing, which is basically just going to be a evolution of the existing Switch product. Like this is going to be a Switch but better. This all signs seem to be pointing that direction. So
Switch
yeah.
Pro,
Yeah, sort
Wii
of,
U,
but no, not that. Switch you no. So yeah, so don't sell your Switch games, I guess is what this is saying. It does look like it will be fully backwards
or
compatible,
if
which
you
is, yeah,
bought on a digital library, you're safe.
should be, yes. They did say a while back that the Nintendo account that exists today, they do plan on carrying over to the next generation. So that should not go away.
Oh, good. So you don't have to buy Final Fantasy VII again.
Right.
All right. Uh, well, I can't talk about this next section, but you played some games.
I did. So one of these only. I
Oh, you did not go back to Life is
still
Strange?
haven't gotten back. Like I said, I'm trying to play it with Christy, and her schedule, is what it is, and we haven't had time to play more of it. So I have not played more Life is Strange. Have you decided what you're going to use your money on? Because Horizon Lego is coming out.
I know.
That might be a better use of your money at this point, actually, I
It
think.
might be a better use because it's definitely going to be a better
You,
use of my time as well. Because
I
I
mean,
sink
you like
lots of
Lego,
time in, I sink
right?
lots of time into Lego games.
Yeah, you like Lego and you like Horizon. Also, it's something that you can play in front of the kid. It seems like it's probably a better choice for you.
Yeah, maybe. But
Let's see.
a lot of the past Lego games are available on PlayStation Extra.
Nah,
So I may
yeah.
do something like that too. Go
Well,
do a backwards game or an older game.
up to you.
But it's still football season, so I still got to make the playoffs
Yeah,
with someone awesome.
that's true. But that's good news that I don't have to talk about that because it gives me more time to talk about Tetris Forever
And ever and
and
ever
ever
and
and
ever
ever
and
and
ever.
ever. So Tetris Forever is a game by Digital Eclipse. It is the third in what they're referring to their Gold series. Prior to this, they had released Karateka and Atari 50. And this follows in the footsteps of those games, in which it is a video game, yes, but a collection of retro games, but also an interactive documentary. What they've done here is that they've basically presented a lot of documentary footage, interviews, archival pictures, archival video, instruction booklets, and made it an interactive museum kind of experience. So you're navigating through this like timeline, and there'll be videos to play where you can watch like interviews. There'll be the occasional game you can actually play as if you were like in a museum in an exhibit, like, and you get to like have hands-on experience. But because it's a video game at home, unlimited experience.
Hmm.
There's like picture galleries you can look through, like I mentioned, and yeah, everything's organized really well. Everything's interactive like that, and it takes you through the timeline of the history of whatever game they're discussing. And in this case, it's Tetris. So some of you are probably thinking, well, do I really need this? I saw that movie. Well, trust me, there's a lot the movie doesn't do, and there's also a lot the movie makes up. This is the true story. This is a lot more details than I've ever heard about the true story. They have enough time since they're not, locked to an hour 30, of runtime. There's a lot of footage here. And so you get really into the nitty gritty of everything to do with the inception of Tetris, the evolution of Tetris, how the rights went, ping ponged back across the world, how there were disputes, lawsuits, all the juicy drama of the Tetris story is here and represented, I think, in the best way it's ever been shown. So if you're curious at all about really getting into the details of the story of Tetris, which is fascinating, probably one of the most fascinating stories in video game history is how Tetris came about, how it exists today. And like all of it is perfectly presented. There's a lot of brand new interviews with the creator of Tetris, Alexei Pajitnov, a lot of interviews with his business partner, Hank Rogers, who is responsible for bringing it here to the US and for publishing it overseas as well. And it goes some places that you don't see coming. Like there's a lot of stuff. I thought I knew pretty much everything about this story. There's stuff I didn't know. At different points, the story of Tetris intersects with one of the creators of Pokemon, the business of Tamagotchi, uh, prog rock album artist Howard Dean, Robert Dean. I may be getting the wrong name. Howard Dean's
Robert
the
Dean.
politician. There's so many different like intersections the story like intersects with, and like you get so many weird like little bits and pieces of info that like yeah were completely new to me, and that means probably new to you because most of the
Hmm.
people listening here probably don't know a whole lot about this story, but there's a lot. And that's not even starting with all the games you can actually play here. So there's a collection of classic Tetris games that pretty much go until the mid 90s. Nothing more modern than that. But it goes back as far as they've recreated the original 1984 Academy, like Computer Academy Russian version that Alexei Pajitnov originally created, which has never been like emulated in this way ever before. It's here. You can play it. It's Tetris. It's a very rudimentary version of Tetris, but it's Tetris, and it's really cool to be able to see that history. There's computer versions of Tetris that you can play. There's some Famicom versions. There's even a couple Game Boy games here. Not, of course, Game Boy Tetris, as that is a Nintendo published game, and they don't have the full rights to that. But any of the Tetris games that were published by Bulletproof Software are in this. They're pretty much all here, including some rare Super Nintendo games that were never localized to the US, including the sequels to Tetris, Tetris 2, Tetris, and Bombliss. Bombliss being a bomb-based version of Tetris, which is actually pretty fun. And then, of course, the crown jewel, in my opinion, which is Tetris Battle Gaiden, which is a Japanese exclusive Super Nintendo game that is a kind of like Super Puzzle Fighter before Super Puzzle Fighter. It is a multiplayer focused version of Tetris where you can control characters that have special powers. And as you like destroy crystals in your playfield, your power meter goes up. And you have different powers depending on how many crystals you've saved. So if you have one, it does like something simple, like knocks out a few lines out of your thing. But if at four, it can do something as crazy as the Prince version, which is a copy mechanic where you can literally copy whatever play field your opponent has. So if you're shit out of luck and on the top of your well, and your opponent has a relatively clean well, you can get that clean well immediately if you save 4 crystals and use the copy ability. And there's like 8 characters that all have different like powers. So it's pretty deep and there's a lot to discover in there. But otherwise, it's Tetris. So there's a lot of cool like new experiences for American players who didn't get to play all of these games. It's a really neat collection, and it's all well emulated with a lot of cool different effects. Like you can make it look like the original version. You can have it a wide aspect ratio. You can change the border around your screen. On the Game Boy games, you can even have a color scheme that looks like the Game Boy Pocket version, or even the Game Boy Light version, which is a product that also never came to the US. So that's an extra, like, really nerdy thing that they tossed in here. It's pretty awesome. It's a really cool collection. It's $35 right now, which I think to a lot of
Mhm.
people will seem steep for a collection of old Tetris games and a documentary, which is essentially what it is. But that is being very reductive. If you like Tetris, I think there's enough here. Even just Battle Gaiden by itself, I think, is worth the price because I feel like I'm going to play a lot of that. But I think it's a good package for what it is. Just think of it as buying a Criterion Edition Blu-ray, right? It's
Mhm.
less of you're not really buying it for the games, you're buying it for the experience and the package and the wealth of information and being able to have this thing that you can show other people down the line, be like, look at all these classic Tetris and look at all this history in here. So yeah, it's a must-have if you're curious at all about the history of the greatest video game of all time.
All right, so I'm gonna go play Tetris Forever after the podcast then.
Did I convince you? I mean, hey, you don't have to use all your money on that, I guess. So there you
I know
go.
I don't
It's
have to.
it's pretty cool. It's on everything too. It's on
Yeah,
PlayStation,
wide
Xbox,
release.
and PC,
It's
and
officially
Switch.
released today
Yeah.
out of this podcast. So
And
yeah.
I don't want to get people's hopes up. I don't know any they haven't made any official statements about this yet. Hold on. Never mind. I dropped something, but I can't reach it. I don't want to like they haven't made any official statements about this, but in the past they have released more stuff for their previous games later after release. There's actually a DLC for Atari 50 coming soon. So that means that we may see more Tetris games come to Tetris Forever later, which makes it an even better proposition. So there's that. The only slight that I will give it, and this is a very personal slight, is on the timeline. It does not, I repeat, does not mention the Nintendo 64 classic Tetris Sphere. Shame on you. But everything else is there. So,
All right. The big question: what do you play
yeah.
it on? Because it's out for everything.
So, I, being picky about how I play my Tetris, I need a big ass control pad. The Xbox control pad sucks. I will be the first to tell you this. So it was down to Switch or PS5 for me. I ended up doing the PS5 version because I wanted the best quality. So I got PS5. It is also on PC, so you could hook up a DualSense and just play it that way if you really care. Yeah, I was originally thinking about getting this on Steam. I ultimately chose PS5 for that control pad because I just like how big it is. Also, it's kind of like a Tetris system. That's where I played Tetris Effect. So it just felt right to have Tetris Effect and Tetris Forever on the same console. So that's just me. If you
Well, so
want handheld, though, and everybody knows Tetris is a really good handheld game, maybe go for the Switch version.
that's why I was asking. Because if he can do multiplayer, like he can
Mm,
directly on the Switch, it provides two controllers instantly.
that is true.
Now,
That is true.
all the video quality is going to be in 720 though, so they
Yeah, well,
concur you.
but these are all old games, so really all you're missing is that all the video is 4K, so you would
That's what
be
I mean. Yeah,
losing the 4K resolution video. So that's the downside. But it's funny that you mentioned that because yes, I didn't mention a lot of these games have local multiplayer. So you're going to be able to play two-player mode on the same console for many of these, including the Super Nintendo games, including Battle Gaiden, which is crucial because that is a multiplayer game first and foremost. So
yep.
yeah, a lot of these games you can take advantage of multiplayer.
Uh, all I think the good thing with like the Switch though is that, or the bad thing with the Switch is that you need the multiplayer online to play multiplayer. So may sway you to other consoles. Just whatever your preference is, you know, take the pros and the
Yeah.
cons.
No online multiplayer that I know of. Local, it seems like
Yeah, local.
exclusively. So, but yeah. But yeah, like I said, I think it's a pretty good package. And if there's more to come, it will just fill it out. Like it'll be cool to see what else that they add to it potentially. There's a lot of games floating out there, and there's a lot of deals they could make with other publishers to bring other games out here. Like, God, there's so many. THQ published a bunch of Tetris games for a while, including Tetris Worlds, which was a big PS2 era release. There's a lot of ways they could go with this. So I'm curious to see if they do end up adding more.
Yeah, man, maybe they have to rebrand it as Tetris Infinite.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, it's a good package, and I appreciate that Digital Eclipse is doing this, and I hope they continue because these are really good, like museum style, like pieces of video game history.
Hmm. Uh, yeah, I'll debate if I want to do a PlayStation or Switch.
Think about
Might do PlayStation, like the videos
it.
quality. Uh, I did play a game. I've been playing a
Okay,
lot more Pokemon Pocket.
same.
There's two events currently going on. I've maxed out on both events.
I got the
Uh,
Lapras and I stopped that one. Like after I got the Lapras, I was just like, all right, I'm good. I beat all the levels, but I only got like, yeah, Chrissy was telling me she only played like the first and second round of it and immediately got the promo pack with Lapras.
really?
I didn't get a promo pack until I finished the expert level. And I got
Yeah.
my first one and it wasn't Lapras. So
It's
your
very
mileage may
random.
vary. Yeah, and then the
Um,
other one I still can't break. I think I'm at 8 wins. I can't really break through that up to that 10 win level.
I've been using a EX Pikachu and EX Zapdos deck.
Mhm.
Um, Mostly like as soon as like people see either of those out there, they usually like quit on me. It's like, oh, free wins.
I don't have a lot of concessions. I just started running with a Lapras, Blastoise, and Articuno, all three EX deck, which is done pretty well.
Okay, see, I don't. I'm trying to keep pulling for Blastoise, but I don't have one
Yeah.
yet.
Well,
But I
hey,
did.
save
I
up
was
those
using.
pack points.
What?
Yeah,
Save?
save up the pack points. 500 pack points you can get an EX card.
Oh, pack points. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
pack
I
points.
thought you meant the timers.
No, the point,
Because
the not the no, the every time you open a pack, you get pack points.
you do.
Yes, and you can
Oh,
trade those in for cards.
oh, because I have 500 hours stacked up in my
Hmm.
timer.
You've got to just draw some boosters. Come on,
I think what I'm
just
gonna end
use
up
them.
doing is doing three of just 10 on each and see what I get from it
Yeah,
once,
yeah,
and then save up to do it for the next pack drop, which will
yeah.
be
But no, who
in
knows when that's
December.
gonna? Yeah, who knows how long it's gonna be though.
It's gonna be in December. They're gonna do it monthly.
We'll see.
I looked it up. Just see, like, okay, like if I spend it now, can I get enough back? Because you only get, if you don't pay for anything, you only get four per day, 4 hours per day. I think give you
Yeah,
extra.
roughly. Unless you do like the solo battles gave you some free ones. You can also buy them in the shop. Different achievements can earn them.
Yeah, I'm looking at I'm close to just buying out the entire shop in one fell swoop.
I bought the weekly hourglasses. I have not exhausted the monthly ones yet, but
Those are weekly?
so there's two. There's two
Okay,
timers
I
on
this
those.
because it doesn't say weekly. I
Yeah.
didn't realize how often that
There's
refreshed.
there's a weekly section and there's a monthly section.
Yes, I know the monthly section because it gives you a countdown. The section above it does not say weekly.
Yeah. Well,
I thought it was just here's what you get. If you
I'm
use it, you
assuming
use
it's
it.
weekly. I'm assuming that. I don't know. We'll see.
Well, when did you last time you purchased one?
I guess it's been within a week. I don't know.
Okay.
Anyway,
Anyways, yeah, been
yeah.
playing that. maxed out all of that stuff, so
It remains good.
that was kind of fun.
Yeah.
Uh, but now like in this like 2 week waiting period of till like the next actually no, the next like event is this upcoming weekend.
Mhm.
It's either this week or next weekend. But similar to like the Chansey and Meowth, where it's not actually a battle
Sure.
thing, it's a like a private card
Yeah, yeah, it's
pull.
accessories essentially, or like a
Yeah,
promo
accessory
card.
pull.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I'm having fun doing that on a daily basis.
Nice. Video games. They're really good right now. There's a lot to play. This year is gonna end on a really high note, I think. We're gonna have a lot to talk about into the year. And it's gonna be maybe kind of hard for to really narrow this down to a top five.
Uh, hey, we'd start making lists in like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I know. That's why I'm saying that now, because I didn't even think about it until like this week where I was like, oh shoot, we gotta figure that out pretty soon.
Yep. We gotta make top five game list, movie list, TV list, Christmas list, wash wish list, kid list, the list,
Yeah. List of lists.
limit list, hit list, fix list, to-do list, New Year's list, resolution
Grocery
list,
lists.
grocery list, errands list, Angie's list.
There it is. All right, you have to end there. End on the
All right.
funniest one. All
Yes,
right.
because next we go into television and we start
Yes.
with the sports corner. Do.
Indeed.
And we have a new champion. Well, we have a repeat champion.
Yeah.
Joey Blogano is your three-time NASCAR Series champion, just edging out what could have been repeat champion Ryan Blaney. Now, they are teammates, and they did say going into the race that whoever's in the lead, they're going to be happy for whoever wins between the two of them.
Uh,
But the fans were not happy. The fans wanted to see history, a back-to-back champion. Uh, then again, Joey Logano did win or did lead the race for over 100 laps in Phoenix. So a well-deserved win, but not the people's champion of a win.
sure.
But yeah, I think that's the last championship we have for a while
Yeah.
because the NBA in season tournament is upon us as that gets kicked off. Well, sorry, tipped off tonight. Although they're not calling it the in-season tournament anymore.
No, they got a sponsor.
Yeah, they're calling it the NBA Emeritus Cup.
Emirates, I believe, because I believe
Emeritus.
it's the airline that takes you to the Emirates,
Yes,
the United
Emeritus.
Arab ones.
Yes, the Emeritus. That tip-off begins tonight for the in-season tournament, with the championship coming on December 17th. So just over a month away from crowning that uh in-season tournament. Who knows? LeBron is going for a repeat championship, something he
Yeah.
hasn't done in like 10 years. Let's see here. Elsewhere around the league, Kansas City continues to stay undefeated in the NFL. This
Yeah.
time thanks to special teams because they should have lost that goddamn game. There's a field goal, 35 yards. You easy chip shot, you make it. And it was blocked.
Dang.
And they celebrated. And everyone's like, oh, now they're 9-0, something that hasn't happened in like 15 years.
Dang.
Oh, is this a special team? They're like, no, no, they're not. No, they're getting lucky. They're not blowing these people out. They're just getting lucky.
Just getting lucky. Sometimes that's all it takes.
I know. That's sometimes that's all it takes. It's why you're ahead in the picks points every week. You just get
Hey,
lucky.
so this week actually was pretty rough on me. I
You
ended
were number
up
one last week.
Yeah, I ended up really doing well last week. This week, not so well. I am now a solid number two. Only 1 point separates me from number one and number three, though. So I'm like, I'm standing on an edge right now. So it really will hinge on this week, how long I am that high up.
Well, this is we still have 7 weeks left, I think. Yeah, I think we have 7 weeks left of picks, which is another like 50 games. So there's still time. I can pick catch up. I can pass you. It is a season, it's a sprint. It's a marathon, not a sprint.
Sure, yeah. Just keep telling yourself that.
Yes, I keep telling myself that every year when I pick losers.
Just stop picking them again. It's a skill issue.
It's just so enticing. Like, come with us to the losing side. It's like, oh yeah.
No.
Pain.
Anyway.
Speaking of pain, the Rays are a pain in the ass of most people. But for the MLB stadium, they have found a way to fix that roof that got torn off
Okay.
due to the hurricane. It'll just only cost them $55 million,
Yikes.
but it won't be done until 2026. Now, this means that the upcoming 2025 season, the Tampa Bay Rays have to play in some other stadium. Luckily for Tampa Bay, they just happen to be surrounded by several spring training sites.
Yes.
So the Rays could be the second team next year, playing in a AAA spring training site.
I guess so.
Um, so even though they will pay the $55 million to fix the roof, it pales in comparison to the $1.3 billion ballpark that is scheduled to be finished for the 2028 season. So even after they get a new roof, they will only be there for probably 2 more seasons.
Hmm.
But hey, you gotta fix the roof. Can't play it.
Yeah, turns out.
Uh, Hockey continues to hockey. People continue to get hit and hurt and go on the IL, IR, and the long-term IR and ruin my fantasy team. So I don't want to talk about hockey.
Okay, fair enough.
And lastly, college football. There's 3 weeks remaining in the regular season before the not bowl selection, before the conference championship games are played. And then you get Selection Sunday, bowl selections.
Okay.
Currently, there are 4 teams that are undefeated. They are number one ranked Oregon, number five ranked Indiana, number seven ranked Bring what bring I won't say Brigham Young University, BYU.
Yeah, just call it BYU. It's fine.
Yeah. And number 16 are future servicemen in uniform, Army, undefeated this year so far.
Huh. Weird.
Yeah, weird. It's like, okay, like, yeah, top one team, top
Yeah.
five team, top 17, and then Army down 16.
Wow, this will be the most exciting Army Navy game of all time.
Not for a couple more weeks.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. When do we get there?
Yes. Who knows?
There
They
we
may
go.
lose by then, but also may
Who knows?
not.
Yeah.
All right. That's all I have for sports then.
All right. Yeah. Sports are sports, and let's turn over into television news then.
Huh.
And our television story this week is a crossover with the video game section. We have a story about an older franchise that is getting the TV treatment at long last after we heard about this for a while. Mass Effect, the EA BioWare RPG set in space, is officially in development at Amazon MGM Studios. Daniel Casey, who wrote F9 The Fast Saga, is set to write and executive produce the adaptation. Kareem Zurek, Ari Arad, who is always involved in these video game adaptations, and EA's Michael Gamble will executive produce the series. It was previously reported back in 2021 that Amazon was already in negotiations to develop a Mass Effect TV series, but there had been no updates on the project until now. There had also been various attempts to develop a feature film based on the games, but those projects never materialized. Then yeah, you know what Mass Effect is. Came out in 2007. Since then, there have been three sequels, 2, 3, and Mass Effect Andromeda back in 2017. There is a current Mass Effect game in development, but that has been delayed a few times and is currently slated for question mark, question mark, question mark, but probably 2026 if I had to guess. This will join other video game adaptations on Amazon Prime Video, such as Fallout, God of War, and Tomb Raider.
Yeah, God of War and Tomb Raider are still currently in development.
Mhm.
God of War even further, or sorry, got pushed back in development since they lost their writers.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, this is part of Amazon seeing the success of Fallout and figuring out what other games can we adapt? What else can we get our hands on? Because people are going to watch them. And
Mhm.
it seems like they're going to corner the market of nerd fandom
Yeah. I mean, it's
with Lord of
smart.
the Rings, first off, and then the Warhammer series
Mhm.
with Henry Cavill.
Yeah, I think we're just finally seeing the results of the popularity of The Last of Us. We're seeing a lot of these shows that were
Mhm.
greenlit a few years ago finally coming out. Fallout also having its big success is probably great for Amazon and all these other projects because it means a lot more stuff is getting greenlit and pushed through the door. While we're on the subject of Fallout, the other headline this week about Amazon slate is that Macaulay Culkin, Mr. Home Alone himself, is set to be in Fallout Season 2 as a brand new character. So look forward to that.
The betting odds on favorite is that he is going to be in his fort with a bunch of traps set up for
I
whoever
see. I
unsuspectingly
see.
enters his domain.
I see where you're going. I see. I
Yes,
see it. I
yes,
respect it.
yep, that's a Fallout 76 reference for everyone.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. All right. You played a video game. No, wow, I'm all screwed up because of how this story was. You're not only talking in the news here about video games turned into television shows, you also watched a television show based on a video game.
Yes, weird that in TV we're talking about video games in both these
Yeah.
segments here, but Netflix's season 2 of Arcane dropped.
Yes.
Well, Act 1, half 1, the first part, has only 3 episodes that dropped this past week for season 2. And it continues to show why the medium of animation can do stuff that live action simply cannot. Continues to tell great storytelling, continues to show just the cross medium of different animation styles, uh, depending on the character and the environment and the colors and the tone. And they're just so, I think one thing that kind of ruins my take of this is that depending on how you like this or not, some people love it. I'm on the side that thinks they use too much of it. The needle drops.
Sure.
The what seemed like forced interaction of putting in songs and just to like speed up and montage it because you don't want to put like actual words to it. So it's I think they use it a bit too much here, which is what people liked in the first season. So I can see why they did it here in season 2. I just think that having 3 or 4 of those come in a 35 to 40-minute show feels like you're like capping off each act with a musical montage. It's like,
Right.
do we need this? Like
Hmm.
you're building up to it and then you do it. And it's like, okay, but you did it 3 times in this episode, but then you did it 3 more times in the next 3 episodes. You did 9 different needle drops over the course of 3 episodes.
Yeah.
Is that where your budget's going? Because I know it's not really it's all the art. It's fantastic. I love the story writing in here. I love it just bugs me that much that I need
Yeah.
to mention it. Um that's my main negative takeaway on this, that they're doing it too much to feel like they're relying on it when the story itself is still rich, vibrant, intersecting of politics and society and the at the core the sisterhood that
Mm,
was between the two main characters, Vi and Jinx, in season one. That continues here. Uh, Not too much to the extent of that they're the feel like the main characters anymore. It feels like they are being pushed to the side, or at least their body being pushed to the side because their story and arc kind of felt like it wrapped up at the end of season one, and season
sure.
two is picking up where it left off from season one into more of the political aspect of how do you keep the society together when you're at war within society, and a at times feels like civil war will break out between the upper and lower divisions here.
Mm,
I think that they're trying to pull in more aspects of League of Legends, not just lore, but also terminology and uh, style
mm,
into season two than they did in season one. Because there's several times where they mention like the lanes, the gathering, like the like the fodder, just like stuff that's normal terminology for League of Legends player that would seem
yeah.
to be missing from the first season,
Hmm.
as well as several shots where it specifically showed like a team of five characters in season two, which I felt was missing from season one.
Right.
That's like, oh yes, like this is League of Legends. Here, like we set it all up in season one. Here's how it like really like plays into the League of Legends gameplay that the show Arcane is basing everything else on.
Right. Right.
I
Right.
did read something really interesting is that going forward, because they're doing a lot of retcon with Arcane and League of Legends lore, that Arcane is becoming the source of truth, the new canon for League of Legends. And any
Mm,
of the arc and spin-offs from Arcane that they're going to do will be lore accurate, or at least the current lore accurate going forward, and not the 15, 20 some odd years of prior League of Legends.
sure.
Not necessarily, well, yeah, it's lore, but not when it
Yeah.
was considered canonized lore, or they're going to
I,
retcon some stuff.
I mean, whatever lore can be in a game that is multiplayer focused like that.
Yes, where all the lore is in the bios that you do not read.
Right, right. Just skip, skip, skip. Yeah. Yeah, I've been hearing a lot of feedback on social media about this. It seems like people really, really, really dig this show. Like, and I think that it seems like all this my sources is that season two is delivering more on what the promise of season one was, and that people are pretty happy with the direction it's going.
Mhm. Yeah, it continues like everything that, like I said, everything that you loved from season two, they brought back here in season one. Now, season two is the finale of Arcane.
Mhm.
They have said they're going to do more spin-offs within the League of Legends universe. It just
Sure.
won't be based off, or
Yes.
we just won't continue this story of
Mhm.
Arcane. It'll be its own story,
Okay.
continuing with Netflix. But yeah, the budget on here is the animation just fine, spectacular.
Yeah,
Love it all. Just
that's good.
continues, like I said at the beginning, continues to prove why animation is a superior medium and should never, ever, ever go away.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like we can hope that, the animators that, are picketing for better deals across the industry right now, they can point to successes like this and be like,
Mhm.
that's an animated show that is making a lot of waves. Like, pay attention, pay us better, like give us opportunities, stop canceling our stuff and burying it so nobody can see it. Like, hopefully, yeah, hopefully this leads to more animation successes because you're right. It does things that no other medium can.
It is it is only the first half of season two. Uh,
Mhm.
uh Part one. Try to see real quick when part two is gonna drop.
Mm.
Uh, I don't see it right now. Uh, Three episode. What I'm seeing is three episodes every week for 3 weeks for 3 act structure. So we will have it end by the end of the month then.
Okay.
All right.
All right, cool. All right. So that's Arcane. Anything else in television that we need to talk about?
Nope, nothing else we need to talk about.
Okay, cool. Nothing else for television means we can move on to cancellations and renewals.
What am I no longer watching?
Uh, actually, mostly this is some renewals. Oh, we do have a finale announcement. Outer Banks on Netflix, its fifth season will be its final season. So that has been confirmed. But other than that, just renewals this week, including Days of Our Lives. Yes, the soap opera Days of Our Lives will get ready, a 61st season. It will be on Peacock, though, exclusively. It will not be on network television on NBC.
Yes, if you want to watch your soaps, you can go to Peacock and you can catch up on all 60 seasons prior. Um, just note that that's a lot of hours of television.
A lot of television. Then we also have NCIS Origins has been ordered for an additional first season, or additional season, sorry. The way you have this written is weird. And Papa's House is also going to be renewed for another season.
Yeah,
Usually
they're both
indicate,
getting full season orders.
yeah, usually you indicate that better. This looks like they're getting first seasons. I'm like, yeah,
Well, the
we knew that.
extended first seasons.
Okay, fair enough. Then we also have one death, real quick to talk about. Tony Todd, age 69, actor most famous for the role of Candyman in the Candyman series of horror films, as well as bit parts in other films such as the Final Destination series. He also had recurring roles in Star Trek series. He had recurring roles in other sci-fi horror institutions. Just a reliable horror actor that could get the job done, an imposing figure. And fun fact, I have seen Tony Todd in person. I have seen him speak. He came in to speak for one of the classes in college that I attended.
Oh.
Yeah,
Now this is Candyman, the original Candyman, not that recent
correct. Yes,
remake.
not the reboot that came out recently.
Yep.
This is the original Candyman. Yeah, so R.I.P. Tony Todd, definitely a memorable figure in the world of horror cinema. So he will be
Yep.
missed. All right, move on to the movies section. And we always start the movies with the weekend box office numbers. And yeah, another slow week. So that means Venom: The Last Dance is still your number one movie. That made another $15 million this week. That's at 114 million domestic. Hey, I guess it's made enough money to warrant yet another Venom movie probably after this is over.
Hey, that's the international box office for you.
Sure is. Coming in at number two is Heretic, which made $11 million in its debut this week. Your number three movie, The Best Christmas Pageant Ever, which I'm just hearing about now, made $10 million in its debut.
I saw a poster for this when I went to see Conclave
Yeah.
a couple of weeks ago. I haven't seen anything for this, and I still think it's too early for Christmas movies.
Yeah, a little bit. Just a little too early. Coming in number four, The Wild Robot sticks around with another $6.6 million. That's at a respectable 130. That made its money.
Mhm.
And rounding out your top five, Smile 2. An angry dog below me. $5.1 million this week, and that is at 60 million domestic.
Yep.
So not as hot as some of the other horror movies we saw in the horror season, but still hanging around. This weekend, speaking of too early for Christmas movies, we have our first big Christmas release of the season, the star-studded Red One, which has The Rock in it, among all sorts of different. Yeah, it seems
Yep.
all over the place.
Chris Evans is in
Yeah,
this. Lucy Liu is in this.
yeah.
And J.K. Simmons is Santa Claus.
He is a Santa Claus. Yes. This looks terrible.
The
Just
CG looks
awful.
terrible, or the concept
Yeah.
looks terrible.
Both actually turns out. Yeah, no, thank you. I will not see this movie. But we'll see how it does next week. In the meantime, our news story this week takes us to the familiar world of Star Wars, where, yes, yet again, the carrot is being dangled over us as we all wonder, are we going to get another trilogy? Lucasfilm has closed a deal
Yes,
with
maybe, question
maybe.
mark.
Maybe is usually the answer, and I think that's the answer this time as well. Lucasfilm has closed a deal with Simon Kinberg to develop a trilogy of Star Wars films. Insiders disputed intel that Kinberg will continue the Skywalker storyline, saying this instead will begin a new saga and sit alongside percolating Star Wars projects with James Mangold, Charmin Obaid-Chinoy, Taika Waititi, and Donald Glover. As usual, Lucasfilm and Disney are not commenting. Stop asking them. This news comes weeks after writer Stephen Knight exited a future project following the storyline Daisy Ridley's Rey Skywalker character we're going to be in. Currently, there are untitled Star Wars picks set for December 18th, 2026 and December 17th, 2027. And the fun part about this is they could be any of these things.
Yes,
Who
but
knows?
we do know that the next movie that Star Wars will be releasing, Lucasfilm will
Yes.
be releasing, that is the Star Wars universe, is The Mandalorian and Grogu, film by
Yes.
Jon Favreau.
We know that that exists because it's a spinoff of the television show.
Yep.
Beyond that, though, we still don't know how they plan on expanding the Star Wars universe further on. There's no concrete plans. Everything seems to be up in the air.
A lot of things are going to Disney Plus because we did get a new trailer for Skeleton Crew, which
Mm,
is coming to Disney Plus next month in December. But yeah, outside of that, like actual films, in terms of like what's being actively shot and worked on, there
mhm,
are a lot of standalone films and not necessarily a full trilogy because the Ryan Johnson trilogy got canned.
mhm.
The D&D trilogy got canned.
Yeah.
So now we're having Simon Kinberg try. Now, he has worked on Star Wars before. He did some
Yeah.
rewrites on Star Wars Episode 7. And he's also worked on pretty much like all like X-Men movies, a
Mm,
lot of the superhero movies. He's usually brought in to help punch up a script and tighten things up. So him starting from scratch on a new trilogy, like I said, could be continuing from that
yeah,
Rey Skywalker into a Jedi Academy, could be a
maybe.
far off prequel too. We don't know.
It's just has this feeling of all these creative people keep going up to bat for Lucas, and Lucas keeps shooting them down. Like it just seems like they just strike out, and like all of a sudden, like okay, well maybe that's not happening. Maybe we'll come up with like maybe somebody else has got the thing that'll stick. It just seems like we're churning through these creatives. Uh, it's so weird. It's like just stick with one thing.
All right. Can I put on my tin foil business hat real quickly
As
here?
you always love to do, yes.
All right. So, creatives come to this meeting. Creatives pitch on a wild, like unique storyline, a
Hmm.
very original storyline. But can you sell toys with it? Can you sell merchandise with it? Can you make it into a Lego set? Can you see it on a lunch pail? Can you see it in a poster of someone's bedroom? If the answer is no, it's not going to get greenlit.
The thing is though, and people who like things know this, and I mean not executives, is that sometimes you gotta let something breathe and evolve. Like
Mhm.
sometimes initially it might not seem like the best idea in the world, but eventually it clicks. Like the original Star Wars. Like it's just like it seems like ignorant of history, right? They want this thing to be immediately likable. They want these things to be immediately like related to the thing that people already love, which is why I'm sure this rumor got started about this continuing the Skywalker storyline because I'm sure in one of those meetings, those execs were like, "Well, we like this angle, but why can't it just be an extension of the thing people already know and like and love? Is because this is constantly what's going on in their head, right? They're with you, what you're saying, which is like, well, we already have these marketable characters. Why not just continue evolving the world with the marketing characters so we don't have to do the extra legwork of getting an audience to like something when we know how volatile that could be? And but it's frustrating because if we just get the same old story over and over again, it just gets diminishing returns. We've already seen the diminishing returns. Like The Rise of Skywalker was a pretty universally derided film. We can't pretend that that didn't happen. We
I mean,
didn't
we
even finish
can't
that
because
trilogy well.
somehow it happened.
Yeah, somehow. And so yeah, if yeah, and then here, if this one yet again opens with somehow Ray returned, like everybody's gonna be like, all right, we've done this, like we've been here, like all this is old news. It's just not going to give them what they want, but they refuse to try something original.
Yeah, or like you said, they creatives pitch original and executives try and shoehorn in. Can we add a Jedi to this? Can we add a Millennium Falcon to this?
Yeah,
Can we add C-3PO to this? Can we add R2D2 to this? Can we like make something recognizable
yeah.
into this?
It's
Which is
one,
which is why Rogue One was such a perfect setup
yeah.
because you could easily like it could be its own story, its standalone story, but you find a way to put Darth Vader in there, and all of a sudden people really like it, and executives get
Yeah.
excited about it.
I mean that's exactly related to what I was going to bring up, which is it makes you wonder what they're focusing on because all they have to do is look at Andor to figure out the formula, right? This is
Mhm.
something that was tangentially related to something that is recognizable and familiar, but also is doing something original and fresh with formula and was different enough. And it got a lot of critical eyes on it. Like the critics loved that thing, fans loved that thing. But because it's not for the kids, it's harder to market. And I think that's why, like, yeah, we're getting a season two, thank God, because I think a lot of people are very excited about that, but that not a formula they can repeat because it's not big enough of a splashy enough a thing to market a movie around like you can with Rogu. And so yeah, it's like it makes me sad though because it's like they'd see something that has been a success in the last 10 years with Star Wars. It's right there under their nose, but it's not big enough. It goes back to the private division conversation we were having earlier. It's like these executives, they see the big dollar signs. They refuse to see the small ones. They want to focus on the big dollar signs and exclusively them because they want dollar signs forever. They want an endless mountain of dollar signs that don't go down at any time. They keep going up because that's what the investors want. And so it distracts them from making things people actually want. And it's just gonna be like this forever. It feels until something drastic happens.
Until some executive takes a shot in the dark with someone
Yeah.
and lets them develop something that they are passionate about.
So I guess
But
yeah, we don't know
here's
what this
the
is. Like
caveat with that
yeah,
is that if say that happens and say it becomes a success, you are now primed to possibly take over for Lucasfilm and rip it from Kathleen Kennedy's hands. Is she gonna allow that? I
no.
don't think so. Is Disney gonna
Yeah,
allow that? I don't think so.
yeah.
So
I mean, you saw what happened
nuggets there.
to Ryan John. You just have to look at what happened to Ryan Johnson, right? It's like
Yeah.
he makes a very successful but polarizing Star Wars film, and it was just polarizing enough for them to pull the emergency lever and be like, JJ, come back. We need you to fix this. And that's how you end up with Rise of Skywalker. And that's how Brian Johnson now is just the Knives Out guy.
Yeah. Where he can control
So,
his own IP and
I mean,
not be part of the big machine.
hey, I'm not saying there's that being the Knives Out guy is a bad thing. It seems to be working out pretty well for us. He seems to be pretty happy with it.
Yes.
Anyway, we just so shows we've seen what happens if a creative
I know.
shoots their
So
shot and doesn't do exactly what Disney wanted.
somewhere out there we would have gotten Star Wars Episode 9, Duel of the Fates,
Oh
and it
man.
would have immediately transitioned us into a new trilogy.
I don't let's not let's not talk about this because it's very sad. It makes me sad to think of the Star Wars we could have had that we don't have.
Yes, let's instead live in the sadness that we are living in now, which is a non-Duel of Fates world.
Yeah, exactly. Anyways, speaking of a non-dual fates world, we have to now exit the podcast world,
Yes.
as that is it for the podcast. We didn't watch any movies, I don't think, so
No.
we'll wait till next week. But in the meantime, thank you for joining us here on the Media Boat podcast. That will wrap it up for this episode. Don't worry, though, we'll be back for another one next week, as always. If you want to see that in video form, as well as our older video versions of the podcast, you can at YouTube. Go to YouTube and search Media Boat Podcast to find us and all our videos. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications when new videos go live. You can also find us in podcast form on podcast services such as Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Amazon, iHeartRadio, anywhere you listen to podcasts, Spotify even. Check us out there by searching Media Boat Podcast. You can also find us on the internet in myriad of places, including Blue Sky, where search Media Boat and you'll find our channel. Facebook, we're in there somewhere. Search Media Boat. Twitch.tv/MediaBoat is where you can see Mike occasionally stream. And you can also find us on MediaBoatPodcast.com, our web archive. And then lastly, if you have questions, comments, feedback about the show, anything you want to ask us, you can ask us on our email address, mediaboatpodcast@gmail.com. Send emails there and we'll read them on the show, as long as they're not about AI. All right. We'll see you guys next time. So thanks for joining us.
We'll be back next week with more news, more thoughts. Talk about Linkin Park. It's
Yeah,
coming.
we'll talk about
That's
Linkin
next
Park.
week. All right. We'll see y'all next week.
All
Okay,
right,
bye.
bye.